I've reviewed the movie Gaslight before, right? Or have I? I can't seem to remember. Find out today on Really Old Movies. Welcome to Really Old Movies. I'm your host, Harrison Scullin, and today I'll be discussing the George Cukor classic Gaslight from 1944. And no, I haven't seen or reviewed this movie before, but that's a big element of this movie is the main villain of the movie. He's trying to convince his wife that she has seen and heard things. So I was just yanking your guys' chain. So some essential movie details. This is based on the 1938 stage play Gaslight, though it does take some creative liberties such as name changes, but the overarching theme of a man trying to convince his wife she's crazy to hide the crimes he's trying to make is still the same. This was also loosely based on the 1940 film of the same name, and MGM bought the remaking rights for it. And the deal was to destroy all copies of this film, of this 1940 version, including the original negative. But it was not successful because copies of the movie still exist. You could find it on YouTube. You could buy DVDs of it. It still exists. But nevertheless, this version from 1944 is the most popular version and even helped coin the verb gaslighting that psychologists use, which means to manipulate a person to question their past and to question reality. And so the basic plot. A man, he's trying to convince his wife she's going crazy as he continually lies to her about her forgetting things or making things up as a cover for his criminal activities. And I don't want to get much more into that. I think you guys need to experience the film for yourself. So that's the overarching theme of the movie. Now the plot itself, I gave a 5 out of 5. It was a terrific plot. It really made me think of an Alfred Hitchcock film. It was superbly done. And you really want Paula, who's played by Ingrid Bergman, you really want her to escape from this prison that Gregory has put her into. It's really crazy. It's definitely a thriller, not a scary movie. But yeah, psychological thriller, I think, is what it really is. And what I liked a lot was the audience knows she's not crazy. We see all the things happening to her as well. So, and everyone else doesn't believe her, though. And that's why this made me think of a Hitchcock film, because he does that kind of thing a lot, called dramatic irony. And this is definitely a film just like that. Because again, you know she's experiencing these things. You see it with her. But no one believes her. And you're like, come on, people. Didn't you see the gaslight get turned down just a little bit? It's a greatly crafted, greatly put together film. I love the plot. In regards to acting, Ingrid Bergman, she did an amazing job. You could really tell she studied the behavior of people who are starting to go crazy and starting to lose their mind. And you really wanted her to escape from that prison. It was her home, but it really was a prison for her. She absolutely deserved the Oscar she won for this movie, especially for the final scene between her and her husband, played by Charles Boyer. It's really amazing. She's really expressive and really good at conveying emotions. I've only really seen her in Casablanca, so this is totally different from her approach in Casablanca. I really liked it. And then Charles Boyer, who plays her husband, Gregory, he's really good at being devilish and charismatic. If the devil were to be here on Earth, I would imagine he'd be a lot like this character is. And he's just plain evil, too. He's really good at being bad, if you will. Everyone else was great. I loved the funny Mae Whitty's character, Bessie Thwaites. She was funny. I really liked that character. And it was also interesting seeing a young Angela Lansbury. I'm used to her as being like Jessica Fletcher or Mrs. Potts. But in this movie, she's like a flirtatious, like, young adult. It was really weird. It kind of off-putting at first because I'm so used to her being well, old, but it was really good. She was really good in this role too. And yeah, you could tell she was a good actress even at that moment. Apparently she was only like 17, 18. It's insane. All right, in regards to directing, really, really good. I gave it a 5 out of 5 as well. I loved each scene and loved all the cast and the characters. And George Cukor, I really think he has a masterpiece here. He really assembled together a really good team and a really good cast. And this is quite a departure from other movies I've seen him do. He did the Philadelphia Story, which is a screwball comedy. So seeing him do this, it really shows how versatile and great of a director he was. He was able to do several different genres. It's really impressive. Now on to cinematography and special effects. I loved how eerie it was, how amazing it was, especially with all the fog and mist that they would bring in. And visually, you notice, especially in the last act, where Paula, she's a lot more desperate, so the lighting on her face is a lot more like directly on her, so you could see like shadows, and she looked really scary and almost crazy. And I also loved how visually dark the house was getting the more we progressed along in the storyline. Like when they first get to the house, it's light, it's sunny outside, but over time, each time we see the house, it's dark. It's usually nighttime. You have other lights lighting up the house. And especially by the climax and the end of the movie, it's just almost pitch black. So yeah, it was really impressive. I really liked that. Yeah, I thought that was really good. Special effects, really good cinematography. Great film. In regards to music, I thought it was really good at being suspenseful and was great at setting the tone and the mood. Definitely not your average score of the era. It felt a lot more eerie and scary sounding, especially when Paula, played by Ingrid Bergman, she was saying, "Didn't you see the lights change?" And there's like eerie music playing in the background. It's perfect. It's almost like a Twilight Zone episode too. I really like that. All right, now overall, that brings my Letterboxd score to a 5 out of 5. This is a perfect film for me. I 100% recommend this movie. It's, like I said, very much on par with Hitchcock and is a really excellent story. I think it was really well put together, and you can see why this is the most famous of the adaptations. And I wish more people would talk about this. You don't hear about it too often. The first time I heard about it was from the Warner Archive, and then I went to the nearby thrift store and I found this on VHS. This is the only place I've seen it really is. You either have to buy the movie on DVD or digital, or like I did, you have to buy it on VHS. I've never seen it anywhere streaming, and I think that's a shame. More people need to be able to see this. So yes, I recommend it. You need to find a way to watch it. Maybe you need to buy the Warner Archive edition. I hear it's a really beautiful transfer. But yeah, I really like this movie, and I 100% recommend it. And another great part about the story too is you really wonder how she's going to get out of that situation, because it seems almost doomed. Like, how is she going to get out? I really don't know. There really is no hint at how she's going to escape. And you almost feel as desperate as she is to get out of there. And when she finally does, you finally feel that relief. So it was really good at building up the tension. All right. Well, those are my thoughts and feelings on Gaslight from 1944. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Make sure to subscribe to our Instagram and Facebook at Really Old Movies, where I discuss details about the week's particular film. New podcast episodes are released Saturdays at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Apple Podcasts and now Amazon Music. All right, well, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. This has been Really Old Movies. I'm your host, Harrison Scullin. Take care.